But at this time, it's my privilege to introduce our first speaker. We've got some great Republican candidates for the U.S. Senate, and we need to make a change there. And our Nebraska State Treasurer, Don Stenberg, is here today, and we've asked Don to give us a few words. So Don Stenberg.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming out. It's part of our freedom, the opportunity to gather together like this and talk about our government. Restoring America must begin with defending our freedom. Our founding fathers understood that big government is a threat to our freedom. The source of our freedom is not a benevolent government. No, our freedom is not a gift from our government. As Thomas Jefferson said, the God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time. The Declaration of Independence tells that the source of our liberty comes from our Creator. The Declaration says it this way: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter it. Ladies and gentlemen, our own government has become destructive of our liberty. So the time has come to do what the Constitution of the United States says that we must do. We must alter that government. We can do that at the elections next year. Next year, we can throw out the Washington politicians like Ben Nelson, who voted for a federal takeover of our health care. Next year, we can throw out the Washington politicians who want to impose socialism on our country. Next year, we can throw out the Washington politicians who are leading our nation into a national bankruptcy. And next year, we can throw out the Washington politicians who want to increase our taxes to pay for their wasteful programs. Next year, we are going to alter the government of the United States. There are two competing ideas about the American people. The idea of the elites is that most people are ignorant, uninformed haters who must be controlled by a central government and who are incapable of making good decisions for themselves or for their families. Because of this belief, the elites impose national health care on us and tell us it's for our own good. They take money from those who have earned it and give it to those who have not. They want to be able to tell you what car you can drive, what light bulbs you must use, and what foods you can eat. The elites will decide who gets medical care and who does not. And they will tell you that it's all for your own good. My friends, this is not freedom. This is tyranny. As a free people, we will decide what's for our own good, not the elites in Washington. The other view of the American people is that they are intelligent, capable people who want the freedom to work and raise their families without government interference. For those of us who see the American people in this light, we believe in less government, lower taxes, and more personal freedom. Or as Thomas Jefferson said, a wise and frugal government which shall restrain men from injuring one another, but leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and commerce, and not take from labor, from the mouth of labor, the bread that is earned. That is the sum of good government, unquote. That is the way Thomas Jefferson described good government. That is the government that we want for ourselves, for our families, for our children, and for our children's children. Like you here today, I believe in the people. I believe in the goodness of our people. I believe in the greatness of our nation. And I believe that the United States of America is a country that all Americans should be proud of. In 1936, the Olympic Games were held in Nazi Germany. Hitler was the Führer, the dictator of Germany at the time. And he was going to attend the opening ceremonies. The Olympic teams from each nation were told, as they marched by the Führer's viewing stand, to dip their national flag in honor of the Führer. And one by one, the nations of the world marched by Hitler, dipping their national flag. But the American team believed that the American flag should never bow to a foreign dictator. So they marched by Hitler with the American flag held high. Hitler was furious, as dictators always are when free men and women will not bow down to them. We need to restore the pride in America that the 1936 Olympic team had. Never again should a president of the United States bow to a foreign dictator. Never again should a president of the United States apologize for the United States of America. We need leaders who will defend our nation, not apologize for it. And what do we need to do to restore America's greatness? I believe that it begins with faith. The Bible tells us what we need to do to restore our nation. It's written in 2 Chronicles 7:14, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land." Restoring our nation must begin with earnest prayer. So when you go home tonight, say a prayer for our nation. Pray that God will heal our land. But it's not enough to pray. Every story in the Bible except creation involved men and women inspired by God who did what they were called to do. So what, in addition to prayer, can we do for our nation? Number one, vote. Number two, ask your friends and neighbors to go vote. And number three, help elect the right people to office who believe in the future of the United States of America. And what policy should we demand of our politicians to restore our nation? Secure our borders. No more bailouts. Cut federal spending. Adopt a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States. No new taxes, no earmarks. Develop our domestic energy resources. Repeal the federal takeover of health care. Reject socialism. Support a strong national defense. And stand firm in defense of the Second Amendment, in defense of life, and in defense of religious freedom. Do these things and more, and we will restore America. As it is said, freedom is not free. Uncounted thousands have given their lives over the past 200 years for freedom in our nation. Today, the men and women of our military forces risk their lives to fight Islamic radical Islamists where they are, the better to protect our freedom here at home. We owe them an enormous debt of gratitude that we can never fully repay. But I would like to ask those who are serving in the United States military or who have served to please stand or raise your hand so that we can recognize you and thank you for your service to our nation. Thank you very much for your service. But let me say this. All of us here today, even those not in the military service, are called on to defend freedom by working to restore America. It will not be easy. The elites in Washington and the media will belittle you. You will be called names, teabaggers, bigots, racists, rednecks, Islamophobes, ignorant, and worse. In fact, they've been doing that for about 2 years now. The forces of big government and socialism are very strong. They don't care what you think. They don't want you to stand in their way. But if you love freedom, that is exactly what you must do: stand in their way. The fight for freedom does not always involve wars and guns. Often it is the clash of ideas. Often freedom is lost little by little because it's easier to go along than to fight for what's right. How important is your freedom to you? Would you risk your life for freedom? Would you risk your business or your income for freedom? Here's what Teddy Roosevelt said: "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who spends himself in a worthy cause." Which are you, the man in the arena or the critic? I do not think you would be here today unless you chose to be the man or woman in the arena. If that is so, then let us go forward boldly, asking for God's help, loving freedom, remembering those who gave their lives for our freedom, changing our government, loving our country, so that our posterity will say of us that when the challenge came, we had the courage to defend our freedom and restore our nation. May God bless you, and may He be with each of you as we work together to restore the United States of America to the government we want it to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Thank you very much, Don. I appreciate it.